and welcome to one half of the Comic Conspiracy Podcast, number 148, for the week of March 3rd, 2014. A few of us are here, a few of us are on our way, and we can't wait anymore, so we're going to get started. I'm Ryan Higgins, who is here with me this week.
Brock Sager.
And Charlie.
Brock Sager, talk slightly closer to the microphone. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to make sure everyone can hear your dulcet tones.
I'm on it.
Omar, no, Charlie is here. Omar, Bryce, and Toby are all on their way, apparently, but the horrible California weather of 1/18th of an inch of rain must have prevented them from reaching us by recording time. So,
hey, I am waiting for snow to happen here so we can shut down faster than Atlanta, Georgia shut down.
Yeah, we're going to press on, and hopefully they will join us shortly. While we have some pressing stuff to talk about this week, including the Comic Conspiracy Book Club pick of the month for February, which is Omar's pick, Gotham City Sirens Volume 1, Union. I figure we'll just start with some Twitter questions here while we're waiting for these guys to show up, and if they don't, well, whatever.
I'm just waiting for every Twitter question to be, it's too bad Toby's not here. This is a question.
This one's from Ivan. Says, any conspirators going up to Seattle for Emerald City Comic Con?
No.
Charlie was going to. You've been up there a bunch.
I've been there twice.
Twice? Okay.
Yeah.
Last couple of years. But we have some of your Infinite Longbox crews up there.
Jordan and Jess will be there, and Bruce from Heroes and Villains will be there.
Nice.
So
nice.
There's some podcast people up there.
I'd like to go to the Green Con in the north, but
yes,
one of these days I got to get up there. So we will hopefully stop by and say hi to Jordan if you see him up there. Yeah. And all the other boys. Oh, here come a few of them. Okay, finally. Well, while we're waiting, 7 o'clock, boys, 7 o'clock. We're recording. Let's do it.
7:02, baby. Let's do it. We don't need
okay.
to go to the store.
Okay.
Right?
Dude, 7:02. Dude, last time he didn't show up until 7:02.
7 o'clock.
Is Toby coming?
Mike's hot, baby. Turn those microphones on. Let's go. You got your beers?
I'm ready, yeah.
Okay, well, since you guys just got here, you can answer this important question from David. Are you more excited for Captain America 2 or Guardians of the Galaxy?
Captain America 2.
Are you?
Yeah.
The Guardians?
I'm a Brubaker guy, so...
Okay.
Man, that's tough for me. We're really recording?
Yeah, we're recording.
Yes.
We're recording
okay,
for a few minutes.
so I am probably more excited about Guardians. I'm excited for Cap to redeem itself. I liked Cap 1-ish, but in my opinion, it was the weakest of the Marvel movies. And so while I don't think it was bad, I think that it could have been better. And so I'm excited I think this one looks way better, but I guess this isn't Guardians 2, and there wasn't a Guardians 1 to sort of spoil my palate a little bit. I don't know. I'm excited for both. I'm more excited for Guardians, though.
Okay.
Guardians is cool and all. It's just, for me, it kind of seems like a perfect storm where, you have this quirky group, spacey. Yeah, sure, I know that you can connect it to Thanos and everything, but it's kind of like it makes it so much more fun for the masses and, doing the fun stuff, doing a little elevator flippy off, doing the birdie. No doubt, I do love Gamora. I mean, Zoe Saldana. I'm really excited about that, and yeah.
Okay. Charlie.
You guys can get settled in. We'll just more.
Which one are you excited
so
for?
You're fine.
What?
Just get settled.
I think in general, which one I'm more excited for will change as we get closer to both movies, because I would have said Winter Soldier before.
We're pretty close to Cap.
Well, but that's the thing. I would have said Winter Soldier before the trailer for Guardians, but as soon as Cap comes out, I'm going to be uber excited for Cap and completely forget about Guardians until Cap's over, and then it's Guardians on the horizon, so...
I think if I had to go off of it now, I've seen a helicarrier crash and blow up, so I'm more excited for Guardians. Seeing spaceships fly around, so...
I mean, Cap looks incredible, but I think I'm a little more excited for Guardians just because that's the unknown.
Yeah.
So I want to...
I get angry for you every time I go into a Disney store now.
It's all the exclusive Marvel crap they have that we can't get? Yeah, it's a nightmare.
Like the exclusive Marvel Select Winter Soldier, and I'm just like...
Yeah. Yeah. Marvel hates comic stores. That's all there is to it. It's Disney, Disney bankroll their own stuff, and so there's no reason for them to exist here because they'll sell them in their own stores for 100% profit. There's no reason to sell them in comic stores. So, whatever.
So, I get angry
what
for
can
you.
do? Yeah.
Well, what you can do is you guys can be smart like some of the Nike, the shoe heads out there. I would say that Urban the urban culture has kind of like found its way into the nerd culture. Actually, no, it's always been kind of the same thing. People hanging out in lines, waiting really early, to see things first or to buy exclusives and all that kind of stuff. See, the problem is, I'm trying to talk about the supply and demand of things. Disney, they just fucking make a shitload of everything. So, all those plushies, like those Rocket Raccoons that they had that were exclusive at Comic-Con, they did the same shit for, a bunch of other characters.
But they're going to have those everywhere once
true.
the movie's out.
Yeah.
Those aren't exclusive. Or at least a variation on those will be everywhere because they're not stupid.
Yeah, they'll have a little plant
money.
Groot like in his hand or something that he can grow.
Yeah.
Or
I can't wait.
I mean, exclusives have always been a part of the industry.
Chia Groot.
I mean, this is no different than stuff being available at Comic-Con or whatever, but the fact that there's so many of them available only at their own store, that's frustrating for people who have long carried their product. So,
all right, next question.
It's from David. I think Omar walked out at the wrong time. Is any of us excited for Rise of an Empire, the 300 sequel, and were we fans of 300? I loved 300 when it came out, but I have almost no interest in seeing this new one. Part of it is just complete Frank Miller apathy at this point. Part of it is the spectacle that was 300 has been surpassed by 100 movies by this point. I mean, it was amazing when it came out. I mean, the effects, it was such a cool-looking thing, but at this point, I don't care. I've seen nothing about it. I saw, parts of one trailer, and I was like, okay, whatever.
Well, I would have said 2 weeks ago I had no interest, but in the past week and a half, I've seen TV commercials for it no less than 30 or 40 times. So my interest has risen to the point where it's on my Netflix radar at this point.
Yeah, it'll be a Netflix rental. I'll burn the Blu-ray or something from a friend like that. I mean, I'm just not stoked about seeing this day one in the theater.
Yeah.
You said it the best. I mean, the cinematography on it at the time was amazing and it's fantastic, but we've seen it over and over and over again and again. So it's like, all right, they're just continuing a story, the same stuff. So
what's Dave's question again?
What are we really rushing
Sorry,
to
I missed
see?
it. I had to get red cups for the beer.
Are you excited for the 300 sequel that comes out in a couple of weeks?
And did you like 300?
Did you like the first one?
Yeah, the first one was cool. I mean, that really stamped the style of why we have whack-ass Man of Steel movie. But, I mean, obviously, sex sells, right? You're going to have a lot of women. I mean, a lot of my friends that are women, all my women friends, they're, all stoked about it because they're just hoping to see, all these, sweaty men, bare-chested, fighting each other.
So you're basically saying the Arrow audience is going to be there.
Yes, sir.
I actually won't be there. I loved.
Wait, you watch Arrow for the half-naked sweaty men fighting?
Who doesn't?
Oh, just checking. Just checking.
Anyway.
That's the only reason I read comic books is so I can look at those milk ads.
Catch up, bro.
So I loved 300, and I don't think anybody's going to see this movie. I mean, obviously that's an exaggeration, but I have no desire to even watch it when it comes out on video.
Yeah, well, I'll watch pretty much anything on a video rental, but on a Netflix queue or something.
Hell, you watched Catwoman.
That was like AMC in 2013 at 2:30 in the morning or some garbage like that. That's how bad I had to take for me to even see, and I didn't even finish it. It's like an hour of it. It's dreadful.
In a really weird way, since as I said, I've seen a lot of commercials for the 300 sequel recently. The quote-unquote bad guy they have in it reminds me of a Stargate bad guy, which is
totally
weird.
Totally. I gotta talk about Catwoman here for a second because Brock got me thinking. How the hell was this movie released in 2004? It seriously looks like it was made in 1993 or something like that. It is terrible.
The budget.
I think it was a combination of the budget, and it was also they were going for that early Batman franchise look.
Maybe. What was the budget on that thing?
Batman or on
Catwoman? I mean, it looks awful.
Okay, we all know where the budget went.
Just awful.
It went to pay Halle Berry.
Yeah, that's what she was like. She was it. She was the one.
See, it's funny. You get the comic book movies that are made by people who love
Catwoman made
books.
$82 million in the theater. Jesus, really?
Yeah, those women that like naked
well,
men.
I'm sure we can look up a lot of dollars for shitty movies that are in that range too.
Actually, I'm just like most things, I always get curious about, and how much was the week 1 box office? Because typically what happens is really shitty movies make a shit ton in the first week of
that may be
release,
worldwide, so...
and then they just die.
Yeah. Catwoman made $60-70 million first week.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they realized it was not the Catwoman, not your father's Catwoman. How does that expression go?
So Cameron wants to know, he's never read a Marvel comic before. Recommend just one, and he'll check it out. So as a group of the 5 of us...
Can we do it in... let's make it in print.
I'm sorry, the group...
We're not going to agree.
I'm sorry, the group of the 4 of us... Brock doesn't get a pick here.
Okay.
Suck it.
If we're talking about new right now Marvel comics, I'm pretty sure we're all just going to agree on Thor.
Yeah.
I mean, well, if that is what it takes to have Brock have a pick, because that would be the only book. So
I would say New Avengers. I just read the last book that was highlighted. It's Hickman and Simone Bianchi, Italian dude. I love that guy. Yeah. Man, Doctor Strange is evil.
Oh. How good is that?
Fucking
how much of your soul do you want to sell? All of it?
Dude, that was incredible. Yeah. Like, he's like, fuck this. He's been like, it's true. He's been the derp of the whole group.
Yeah.
It's all about him, but Reed Richards and Iron Man, like, everyone just like pushing and shoving.
Yeah.
Even Black Panther coming out, but Doctor Strange's been like in the background, like, oh, wait, I am Amagano, motherfucker. He's all, fuck this shit. Oh my God. Yeah, that's the one you need to read. Cameron?
New Avengers? Yeah.
New Avengers.
So, New Avengers, I agree.
The current New Avengers?
Wait, not New Avengers. Is it called? Oh,
yeah, no,
it's called New Avengers.
Yeah.
With Bianchi.
Yeah, with Bianchi.
It has been good. Ryan asked
Hickman and Bianchi.
He's not been liking this.
The first 2 arcs, I'll give you up to Infinity, but all the Avengers books have tanked. I mean, kind of during and after Infinity.
Well, it's because you're a DC store. So if you look at the last, I mean, I don't know. I feel like every New Avengers book has been incredible. Uncanny Avengers, the reads, the experience as a reader.
Uncanny's, I mean, I think it dipped a bit at first, but I think it definitely picked up.
So we can just agree now that it's just timey-wimey and isn't going to stick, right?
What's that?
I pretty much figured Uncanny Avengers, every single death can be ignored now that they blew up the Earth, and therefore there is no way that...
Well, my pick was New Avengers, and we're going into like all the Earths. This is like Infinite Crisis level, like no Crisis on Infinite Earth shit. So he's bringing us to like Earth 2319, Earth this, and we're seeing like Doom. We're seeing Doom cry when Reed Richards gets killed because Reed Richards jumped in the middle of a blast from these fucking dudes that look like they're Omax.
This is not a comic to give someone who's never read a Marvel comic before. That is not a first good Marvel comic.
I don't know.
Well, I'm glad you asked, Ryan. So I think that it kind of depends on Cameron's tastes, what his first one should be. I do think that for the initiated, New Avengers might be a better choice. I think that for some with Thor,
I can't make heads or tails of those titles. I don't see anyone coming in new and being able to figure out what's going on.
With Thor on the rise, Aaron's run on Thor has been just so solid all the way through. Mm-hmm. Wolverine and the X-Men, even though it's ending now, sorry Cameron, was really the best X-Men book that was going on in my opinion. Not that I know a lot about the X-Men.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about how much I love Superior, but again, I wouldn't recommend that either because you're coming in halfway through a story arc.
Exactly, not for the uninitiated. No. And then what was the other one I was going to say?
I mean, my gut instinct is to go something like She-Hulk or Hawkeye or something that is
Black Widow is really good.
Or Black Widow or something that is just completely standalone, completely you're just able to get in. You know the character.
I think Black Widow and Hawkeye are too niche.
Don't you think that this is kind of like going against what you always say is why can't you jump into a title mid-round? Exactly. Sure. And for the most part, even if you're a brand new reader, this is the way you can experience what's happening. I feel like a lot of readers, they are savvy and they understand layers to story and depth.
Yeah.
Example, True Detective. Holy shit. What's up, Toby? Toby just walked in all fucking Walter Whited and shit.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
He found a
Pull
bit.
up the mic, Toby. You're finally here. Pull up a mic.
Yeah. So I think that we should let readers be the ones to judge in their own experience. I mean, True Detective, no one could have imagined that show could be for the masses. It's one of the biggest shows right now, and it's so layered and so it has so much rich quality to it, stories within stories. It's like Neil Gaiman shit. That's why I asked you right when I started watching that show.
Yeah.
You got to be watching this.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got up to let Toby in, and now we're talking about TV.
Yes.
Okay.
It always evolves.
We do it all.
right.
We do it all.
Just checking.
We're just showing.
If he likes more sort of pop, classic, quote unquote, Marvel comics, I do think that All New X-Men was a good jumping on point. All New X-Men #1. They've, bringing in the new X-Men sort of hit the reset button on that, so that was easy.
Bryce, I like how you pulled the mic off the stand.
He's got to look. He's got to look.
I got to make sure. You know what else is really good, Cameron? And we've talked about it a lot too, is Superior Foes of Spider-Man. If you're more into the sort of comedy of it, it's not as much superheroes that you're familiar with fighting.
I think the problem with that is the goofiness of the characters and their situation. I think would be lost on a lot of readers who aren't familiar with these characters, or at least the sort of the poke at what it's supposed to be.
I mean, Punisher might be a good starting point. I mean, it's not bad. I mean, it starts anew.
I think you got to go one of the big two. I think you got to go an Avenger book or an X-Men book.
All New X-Men. That's your answer. All New X-Men.
I would have no problem with All New X-Men if Thor, as we've stated multiple times in this podcast, except for I feel the end of the Last Arc wasn't so solid, but it is standalone. It's pretty much you could do whatever you want. I think Thor is a decent answer. I'd say pick between those two. Cameron, All New X-Men or Thor. I think if you're more maybe a little X-Men sided, you may like that a little better. If you like the Avengers movie, the Thor, Cap, any of those, try Thor. Maybe like that a little better. That's about as good as we're going to get on this.
And if you're like studying a doctorate, like many of our other Geekbox forum members and stuff, and have a love for stories that have depth and challenges your mind, then New Avengers.
There you go. I'm okay with that. Is that it? Maybe we'll come back to some of these in a few. We have a few things to talk about this week. Toby, pull up, man. Move on up.
Hello.
Scoot that chair up. Say hello. Toby, say hello.
Hello.
Say hello again.
Hello.
You're like way far away from the mic.
Okay.
Keep talking.
Did someone fix that chair?
We put some boards under it.
Sweet.
We're fine. Toby, you
Awesome.
can take the mic. You can Bryce it. You can just kick back, hold the mic, kick back in the chair. Let us know what's up.
Well, no, he can't because the line's not long enough.
Well, we'll figure something out. Scoot forward. Scoot the chair forward. Anyway, get in here. Fine. Okay. By the time everyone hears this tomorrow, probably, this is going to be a new Arkham game being announced. Rumored Arkham Knights. Or Arkham Knight.
Awesome. Really?
With a KN. Yeah.
Wait,
Why wouldn't they?
Who's doing it?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, this is just a rumor announcement.
I know,
Yeah.
but still, who's doing it?
I'm assuming it's Rocksteady, so.
Okay, because if it's Rocksteady, I'm on board. If it's the last guys that did it, ooh.
No, they're doing alternating.
What was wrong with the last one?
What's wrong with the last one?
There was a lot of problems with the last game. Like the story and everything, but it's just kind of rehash combat, rehash characters, tons of bugs, game-breaking bugs that corrupted saves. Things went out. They've stopped patching it. They're just doing DLC. They're like, sorry, if you're bugged, oh well.
Yeah, there's certain like the way they have like the original Arkham games. You could do all of these, if like abilities or like get achievements, and you just did them and you got them. In this, you have to do them all in order, so it makes it very limiting. At like, and then there's certain locations where you can only do that, and sometimes those locations get X'd out, and you can't go do it like in a challenge map or just fighting random bot guys.
That is an incredibly sour review of a game that I will play but have not yet played.
It's fun. It's fun. It's just
It's still like
it's not
in the
as
shrink
fluid.
wrap, right?
It's not as fluid as Arkham City, and it would be
difficult to be as good as Arkham City.
Well, I know, but yeah, there was a lot of bugs with it, and just there was one part of the game where you literally can only fight in this one sliver of the map to get like something to pop up.
That sucks.
That does suck. Incredible.
And to get to that sliver, you have to drag guys over with you. You have to make all of this group follow you, and then you have to beat them in that small sliver.
Okay, we need somebody listening to this to tweet Ryan or Brock in response, or me, so that I can understand. Is Brock is does not have 100% accuracy when referring to things. I'm wondering, is this something that Brock experienced that is not actually necessarily the case, or is this in fact how annoying this game is?
So I started playing the game semi-recently after sitting on it since Black Friday, and I have not had any kind of problems. Now, mind you, I also have let a few patches and whatnot come out and game updates, and most of the early release shit has been fixed a long time ago.
That's a savvy player right there.
Yeah, Yeah, I'm waiting to. I haven't started playing yet. Well, no, I haven't started playing yet just because I knew all the bugs and I haven't had time. But now I'm like, well, they're not patching it anymore, so I'll get around to it.
For everybody that's been playing video games the last how many years, we all know the people that are the first movers are the beta testers.
Yeah, sure.
They're the ones calling customer service, the ones that pass it on QA, just so you know the product cycle.
I'm pretty much going to Game of the Year editions at this point because it's not worth it. I mean, you get all the DLC for $20-$30,
yeah,
and you get the game.
Sure.
It's awesome. If you get it at launch, it costs you $60. You still got to pay extra. So,
yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty much
the key
Game of the Year
to be
edition.
a year behind your video games, like I am.
Yeah.
With Arkham City,
exactly.
Red Dead Redemption. I'm getting all my video games for $20.
Just like all of our friends are, have their Netflix queue like backed up to the point where they have no more like room to put stuff in, and they're
500, baby.
Yeah, they
always.
can't, exactly. Oh, hey, just like Ryan,
Always.
and we can't have that conversation yet because it's not a spoiler alert, even it came out like 2 years ago. But it's okay.
I have shit from like 2010 on there still. You kidding me? Like, it's so
but when
far
I experience it, it's going to be fun, and it's going to be the first time.
behind. Yeah.
Yep.
If I really want to see it, I see it. If I'm like, I'll see it at some point, it goes on Netflix. I'll watch it
I'm telling you,
eventually.
True Detective, you got to jump on it.
Oh,
'Cause
yeah,
it's
yeah.
no. I mean, seriously, like it's going to be forgotten. It's not going to be as good. The second season will not be as good as this season. This season's ridiculous.
Well, let's talk about something that happened over this last weekend that got quite a bit of publicity. I'm sure most of us have a few things to say about it. I'm not sure if everyone's had a chance to read this yet.
No, because you don't send it out and tell us we're probably going to talk about this. So
Yeah, I know. I forgot to post this earlier. Boom, there you go.
Earlier would be
but
like last week.
This wasn't mentioned last week. This happened a few days ago. So over the weekend, there was a ComicsPro meeting, which is an organization that I belong to. That is a bunch of comic retailers all over the country that deal in, just their various comic stores. But kind of get together and they have like these meetings and these meetups and stuff and talks and all these forums and stuff. Anyway, at the ComicsPro meeting in Atlanta, Georgia, this last weekend, they have a bunch of keynote addresses and crap like that. And one of them was from Eric Stephenson, the publisher of Image Comics, and his talks to ComicsPro. Has anyone else besides me and Brock read this? Charlie, you read it?
No.
You read part of it, I think. Did you see
I got the gist of it, but no, I would not say I've read it.
Omar, you read this?
I may have. Keep
Okay.
going.
Toby, I think you got a chance to read this, right? You're reading it? Reading some of it? Okay, Bryce, I don't know if you read this.
No, I'm
So, as a big Image fan, and there's a lot of big Image fans around here.
I feel so lonely.
No, that's fine. That's fine. This is my fault for not letting you. I don't want to talk about this, but I will read parts of it to you so we can discuss this. He had a lot to say about the comic industry, comic book stores, and readers, and the various companies that are in the comic book industry right now. And I feel personally really came off poorly in this, and so I will read you some choice phrases here. He really wants good comic books, right? And so his part of his conversation was there are only two kinds of comics that matter: good comics and bad comics. Everything else should be irrelevant. He continues on.
It's already annoying.
Well, he has this whole kind of preamble here, so I'm going to pick out parts that I want to discuss here.
Okay.
It says, so stop letting publishers lie to you and deceive you and your readers so they can prop up their position in the industry and their craven attempts to appease shareholders. That may help them in the short term. It may put it on an extra couple of coins in your change purse at the end of the week, but the reality of the situation is they have literally everything but your best interest at heart. It starts with bi-weekly and weekly shipping and extends into pricing. Are $4.99 and $7.99 comics going to help our industry in the long run? No, but they sure help the bottom line at the end of the year. Same with gimmick covers and insane incentives to qualify for variants that will only have a limited appeal for a limited amount of time. Everyone moans about variants, but here's the honest goodness truth. You stop ordering variants, we'll stop making them. So he goes on, and there's more points here that we'll talk about and discuss. But I think this is sort of one of the very first points that I wanted to discuss in this conversation here that he had. So very clearly, $4.99 and $7.99 comics is a direct poke at Marvel and DC for their oversized books, for their Batman Anniversary, for Amazing Spider-Man 700. Bi-weekly and weekly shipping, Marvel's bi-weekly shipping on many of their titles, and DC's upcoming weekly titles. And variant covers and the crazy incentives we have to jump through to get them. Obviously, reference to what Marvel does on a lot of their titles, and DC a little bit, but Marvel mostly. My concern with this, though, is this also 100% describes Image Comics. a fact that he seems to maybe not realize. Walking Dead, and you will hear me bring up Walking Dead many times over the course of the conversation in reference to countering the things he's mentioning. Walking Dead is bi-weekly for its current arc, so they're doing 12 issues in 6 months. Image has published plenty of $4.99 and $7.99 and more expensive single-issue comics, including Walking Dead 100, which I believe was $3.99, not $4.99, but they also had a $9.99 variant Chrome book. I should also mention like the 10 to 15 variant covers on both Walking Dead 100 and Walking Dead 115. Both of these have high ratio variants, so if we want to get the 1 in 200 covers, we had to order 200 copies. And they, of course, do these with the various other books. Mind the Gap, for some reason, has 2 covers on all their books. A ton of Witchblade is what created the variant cover, right? I mean, they've always had multiple covers on that book going back as far as I can remember. Spawn had these weird parody covers that went along with the series for a while, a year or two back. All of these things that he's saying also 100% describes Image. So,
true.
Have comments for that?
True, but
he acknowledged it in the variant thing, saying that if people stop buying variant covers, we'll stop making variant covers.
But that is the biggest load of bullshit. It is not the retailers that buy the variant covers. It is not the customers that buy them. I mean, obviously we buy them.
I would hope the customers buy them.
Obviously we buy them. If the companies didn't make them, we couldn't buy them. It is 100% the company's choice to make variant covers. No one is holding a gun to Image or Marvel or DC's head and telling them to make variant covers. So this is purely the company's decision. It is not the decision of retailers nor the customers.
Yes, but it was sort of acknowledging for all the bitching that happens around variant covers, people are still buying them.
Of course they are,
sort of
because they want them. So why should he tell them that they shouldn't have variant covers? Or, if you're going to tell them they shouldn't have variant covers, why do they do variant covers?
Variant covers aren't going away.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that Eric Stephenson is a genius. I love the way he positions his company to take everything away as much as he can from the rest of the indie groups where it's only like not even 15, 20% of the market share. They're at best maybe 7 to 6%.
Image?
On a monthly basis?
Image is 10%.
On a monthly basis?
Yeah. I mean, recently, the last few months, they've gone up. Image is about 10%. Marvel and DC, like roughly 60%.
Well, you're saying at your store, or you're saying nationwide?
No, nationwide.
Okay.
They've broken the 10% barrier a few times. They're pretty consistently up there.
So what they're trying to do, and I think it's really smart, there's a reason why Image is like in Berkeley, San Francisco, Bay Area, kind of like hipster type of kind of like organic indie kind of feel areas, or maybe Portland. That's another Washington. It's another area for them to be in. They want to be there to preach to the masses. I mean, being at the most recent Image Expo, there was so many people that I saw that were really non-comic readers, but they're Image Comics readers, and it's because they are about a movement. They're about something else. You know, it's not all of the superheroes because they can't compete with that. They can't compete with the history. They have not been around. They've been around for a while.
Oh,
no doubt.
We'll get to the superhero stuff in a bit.
Yeah, they haven't been around. They haven't been around for like they haven't been around for like how many years. DC Marvel has been around forever, and you can never take away from that. And you can chip away at it as best as you can. But you're going to do everything that you can as a president, CEO, chairman, whatever the company is, whatever his fucking role is, to say things that preach to that and benefit.
I understand, but is a bald-faced lie.
It's not a bald-faced lie because if you look at if you look at every issue, Miss Marvel, how many variants did it have? Miss Marvel for Image. Let's compare that to like what's a shitty-ass Image book. Is there a variant for every Image book?
A lot of them, yeah. A whole lot of them.
But
all? No. But there isn't a variant for every Marvel
Miss Marvel,
DC book.
like we discussed earlier, is going to be a book that after maybe issue number 6 or 7 is going to die out. If the creator decides not to stay after the first year.
Sure. Well, I think the problem I think that he didn't do a good job bringing up is the fact that the variant industry is part of the industry and it's there, but the ridiculousness of some of those said variants. Like Walking Dead is an example, 1 in 200 variant. DC's done the 1 in 200 variant. Marvel had the 1 in 700 variant for Amazing, Spider-Man 700. It's like there's a point where it becomes too much to hit these numbers. Like, why would I order 200 copies of this book that, 180 copies are just going to sit on shelves? So the variant covers are used. He didn't bring it up that the variant covers are used to inflate numbers, and it's used to inflate numbers from everybody,
right, including Image. So to me, this part of the conversation is completely hypocritical because everything that he complains about Marvel and DC doing, Image also does. Mm-hmm. So, and that even includes books like Saga that have no traditional variants. However, they have Ghost variants, which is a limited retailer thing, but a variant nonetheless.
So,
Bryce.
I'm sorry if I'm misunderstanding something. This publisher at Image Comics went on a hypocritical rant, and everybody's like feeling all butthurt and sort of defensive about it.
It's very long.
Okay, am I misunderstanding anything else, or is that sort of it?
Nope. There is many points to cover here in this conversation that I will continue on.
All right, next point.
So
no, it's not a next point. The big thing is this: well done, Eric Stephenson. You've done a wonderful job on feeding the creators that have been making a shitload of money for DC and Marvel, and now a lot of them have come over and they're doing their own creative, stuff. And I forget the creator. Somewhat new Batman, not Kyle Higgins. No. He's working on a book, like a horror book with Grant Morrison. He did Batman Incorporated.
Oh, Chris Burnham.
Yes, Chris Burnham. Chris Burnham. When Grant Morrison said to him, "Hey, Chris, would you want to make $1 million in a year? Let's go to Image." And then they fucking went to Image.
Yeah,
and they're going to get their project.
I said, I love Image. Image does some great books. The problem is this keynote is bullshit. And why pick this fight when you were clearly wrong and clearly making up shit or completely misunderstanding the way your own company is run?
Well,
and I will continue with many, many other points. And this is going to be a very big part of our because I have a lot to say about this.
And I really wish you would have given us the homework.
You get the cliff notes. You get the part you need.
He does this to sabotage us in our explanations.
He also continues talking about the music industry. If you want an example of how this works outside of comics, just look at the music industry, where they've really reissued, or where they've nearly reissued, remastered, or repackaged themselves into an early grave. Box sets, deluxe sets, double packs, multi-packs, and premium prices for premium packaging. In an age where virtually everything is available digitally and for less money, the record companies choose to milk their nostalgic, craved customers for every last penny, and look where it's gotten them. So repackaged, reissued, remastered, just like the Walking Dead Compendium and the Walking Dead Omnibus and the Walking Dead hardcovers and the reprint of #1 that's colorized. That's pretty much exactly what they've done with Walking Dead. And the 25 reprints of Spawn throughout the years where they reprint Spawn from #1 in various different collected forms. All the Witchblade omnibuses, all the Witchblade archives where they've gone back and done all those. Revival gets its couple standard skinny dinky issues and then this big oversized hardcover just like Marvel and DC do for all their books, just like everyone in the comic industry does.
Isn't that good for you though?
I'm not saying none of this is not good or bad for me or anyone. I'm saying this entire keynote is the most hypocritical thing I've read from a comic professional.
Okay, the problem
I don't know how long.
The problem with saying music remastered and stuff and comparing trades and hardcovers and compendium editions is that it's not necessarily the same thing, because you get a remastered CD, it's just remastered the same songs. It's not like it's a different format.
Where, a lot of them are in better formats, though. They're like, I have some old fucking ass CDs, and I went to go fucking get that. Back in 95, I had the fucking original like Wu-Tang shit. It's all scratched up and fucked up, and now I want to listen to the fucking remastered digital version, and it's like clear and crisp. And they even included some extra shit from things that they felt were a little too like racy and touchy, as much as it already was back in 95. So I don't know. I would say that is it's case in point. It's the same connection.
Well, you also the thing is with music, you're getting versus end product. And this is more of this is what's the avenue you're coming in, right? It's on a CD. That's the same thing.
But comics are available cheaper digitally, just like music.
Well, the thing is, you
But
can
if
get
you
comics.
want-
Hold on, you can get comics digitally.
Yep.
Single issue, trade paperback, hardcover, omnibus.
Sounds just like the music
Right.
industry.
But the thing is, it's
Digitally,
CDs.
singles, single pack, double pack, digipack, collector's edition,
Content
box
is the
set.
same in the bottom line.
Right.
But let me interject really quick with a person that sits
What's
on the
your
table.
point? You
that-
just said right.
with a-
What's your point then?
with someone that sits at the table that spends a shitload of money on things because it's beautiful and it just jumps out. It's like HD on paper. I'm talking about Charlie here.
He's too busy
He gets
reading. He's too busy
every
reading comics.
motherfucking big ass book that I don't know. I think I saw pictures of your bookcase through Toby. Or no, it was on your page, on your Facebook page, and it's just like
I don't send
Well,
out
there
other
was the
people's pictures
time
from
when
people's homes.
I had all my books stacked up on a table while I was replacing my bookshelf.
that's when I saw this shit, and it's like, dude, I've never seen such a big collection and not be in a shop. And the reason you do it, why are the reasons you pick those books up?
because they're
Charlie.
the right size
Well,
for him.
because they're oversized and
Yes.
most of the time well bound.
Just say
Not
they're your
always,
size.
most of the
Oversized
Just say
is
time.
they're
a lot
your
of
size.
oversized is almost too though, like the way they originally drew
the
it, right?
bottom line, like to me, when it comes to a lot of my collection, is it has to do with value. Like what got me started on the oversized hardcovers were the Ultimate Spider-Man hardcovers when they started coming out because they were cheaper than buying two trades. I could buy the one hardcover and it was oversized and had bonus material. So I kind of felt like I was getting more bang for my buck, and it's kind of carried over from there, which is why occasionally I get on rants about how good a value something is or how bad a value something is, depending on that sort of price per issue point and such, just because I love feeling like I get a good value for my purchase.
That right there was like the Jared Leto speech for the Oscars, man. It just touched my heart. It was so humble. You spoke to all of us, trying to save him some money.
Jeez.
What a gentleman.
Yeah.
I think it's Leto.
Whatever the fuck his name
Yeah.
is. I don't know. He's pretty.
Nobody cares.
He's
anyway,
pretty.
it seems like you're getting all, not you, but like people seem to be getting really bent out of shape. Has anybody called him out on being
A lot, yeah.
then
Including,
why is it
including the
news?
head of
Like-
Dark Horse and the head of IDW, who he really blatantly calls out later in this conversation.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were not done.
Oh, there's a lot
no,
more.
there's a lot.
There's a lot more.
Yippee.
It
So-
took me like 10 minutes to read this thing.
So he continues constantly relaunching, renumbering, rebooting series after series, staging contrived events designed to appeal to a demographic destined only to do a slow march towards attrition, and pretend that endless waves of nostalgia for old movies, old toys, old cartoons, and old video games somehow equals ideas or innovations will not make us stronger. So, like Kurt Busiek, what the hell's his name? Robert Kirkman rebooting Invincible, coming up with a brand new Invincible story arc #1, just like Marvel Comics, with now written by Robert Kirkman. Unlike every other issue of Invincible that was written by Robert Kirkman, it's like the weirdest promotion ever, but I don't know why they're doing it. Or possibly Thundercats, and wasn't that all Wildstorm and Image and He-Man and with all the 90s, all the 80s cartoon reboots? Didn't Image put a bunch of those out when they were first coming out? Or was that at DC at that point?
They were at the ones I'm thinking of. They were at DC at that point.
Yeah,
Okay.
the old
Yeah,
old
those were
ones.
Andy Diggle.
The
Those
old
were at
ones.
DC.
The old ones were with DC, and then the more recent ones were.
Transformers. Didn't Image? Oh no, that was that was Dreamwave. But wasn't that Dreamwave imprint under Image? Image did some of this already. Like that's what I'm trying to get at. They have done.
Well, Image did.
various
Image
random-
did Thundercats but it was. I think it was under the Wildstorm logo. And then they did briefly in like 10 years ago, maybe.
Right. Okay.
He's just politicking. What's the big deal?
but
He's trying to
that's-
find a way to nudge into the top 15% rather than being the top 10%. Let him do his job. He's doing that.
and contrived events like Image United. Okay, that's where I was going with that.
And it sucked, and no one fucking bought it. And you probably still have copies that you give
that
away for
even
free comic book
finish?
day.
No. Coming
I
out?
didn't finish. No. Superheroes are great. I grew up reading superhero comics. But over the years, when the writers and artists and editors and publishers, I look up to talk about advancing the medium and producing more challenging content and creating comics that appeal to adults. Never once did I mistake what they were saying to be. We need to find a way to make superhero comics more appealing to adults. That's exactly what happened from the 80s, 20 years before Image Comics was formed. So I don't know I don't know where he's
10
going
years?
with this.
He's just trying to own it.
Early 80s.
He's done a great job because you're so pissed off about it and talking about it and spending half of the podcast. He loves it. He loves that you're talking about him right now.
Oh yeah, no, sure.
I think it's genius.
Yeah, well, that's we'll have stuff to say. So makes for a fun podcast. We have something to talk about for once.
Totally.
He goes on and says, that women are a large part of Image Comics, especially books like Saga, Sex Criminals, Lazarus, Velvet, Pretty Deadly, Rocket Girl, Rat Queens, and hopefully the upcoming Bitch Planet by Kelly Sue DeConnick. And I don't disagree with that. I think that's completely accurate, which is fine. Again, I'm not here to slam every single part of this. I think he is on the money on some of these. There are other books that are also very female reader friendly, but Image definitely, especially for the top two, our top three have they are a huge part of that, and it is a growing audience. So clearly, I'm not saying here that everything he's talking about is bad, but yeah.
The only X-Men book I read is the one with all the girls on it.
Well, there you go.
Oh, by the way, maybe we should talk about this later.
Cameron?
That's actually a good book.
Yeah, it's an incredible book.
He's doing a great job.
Yeah, it's like a trick. It's gimmicky having girls on the cover, but guess what? That's what I want to see.
But he never exploits that.
No, of
He
course.
never says,
No,
like,
it's
hey,
not
guys,
sexual.
Everybody look, I'm not.
No.
I'm making a book with only the X-Men or X-ladies on it.
It's the one book where you can read about people that aren't really always in the center, like Jubilee and M.
And they're doing this sisterhood, not necessarily.
Yeah, the sisterhood's fucking cool as hell. I love it.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of come out of nowhere. Next time Bryce's top 7 quarter or whatever it is X-Men books, but that'll be on it because that's actually been really good.
Yeah, it has.
All
It's very good.
issues.
Now, he goes on to say that Walking Dead was a towering achievement and incredible success. Robert Kirkman, Image Comics, and you, meaning the retailers, did that together. I would agree that that's fine. But then he continues on saying that they're building the next Walking Dead as we speak and continues to talk about the success of Saga. Here's a key difference. Saga, while a great comic book, I don't in a million years seeing being a successful television show and or movies. Walking Dead is a very basic, very easy to understand, very friendly to modern today's audience. That translates very well into and quality creators on the show as well. Saga, while a critical success in comic books and our best-selling independent comic as well, even over Walking Dead, I find to be a difficult book to translate to maybe a more mass market or a movie or TV show. Agree or disagree?
I think that the premise behind the show with two new parents and kind of their journey and stuff is mass marketable, but the location is not. Space mixed with fantasy mixed with technology, all of this stuff kind of thrown in the blender, and then you add giant troll nuts.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily going to appeal. That's going to definitely not appeal to a lot of the masses. But the core of the story. Two people who star-crossed lovers. They have a kid. It's that can appeal to people, but the locations, where this world is, or in what this world is, that's a harder translation.
I was just going to say, to me, there's a lot of aspects in terms of the world building of Saga and stuff that, and I'm just going to keep bringing everything back to Farscape these days. Is what I do now.
Oh, because they're coming back, aren't they? Did you probably talked about it last week?
Maybe. They have that one script being worked on or whatever, but who cares?
You care.
No, but it's definitely one of those things where there's a particular genre like that appeals to a lot of people, but never in a million years hits the numbers of something like The Walking Dead on AMC has. It's got its audience. It can have a strong audience, but it's not comparable to The Walking Dead.
Right.
What's pretty incredible is how The Walking Dead this season, for those of you who are caught up, it's becoming kind of a little more sappy and not just about the death, but about the humanity. I mean, it's always been about the humanity, but the soft touchness. It really felt like I wrote right after I watched the episode, I jumped on Facebook and wrote this little status update, and a bunch of my friends, I was talking with it, but some of them were embarrassed to talk about it, so I jumped on Messenger and talked about it with me. It felt like a Judd Apatow girls fucking episode. It was soft, and it was not what you'd expect from Walking Dead. Like, sure, there were zombies, there were kills, but it was very, like...
all the feels, all the Daryl feels.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about last night's episode?
Yeah. And the funny thing is the biggest hashtag on that episode is called Death. Daryl and Beth. You know, they're doing the whole, like, fucking...
shipper.
Chloe and shit.
Yeah. Daryl and Beth shipper.
Yeah.
So I kind of got one more part here. Then I think maybe Brock has a few things. We were talking about this before. As part of how we wraps up here, I mean, there's more to it. Obviously, you can go read this. This get reprinted on Bleeding Cool and CBR and everywhere. But another major problem I have with this is this part where he says he's talking about Walking Dead, and that's because the show made people aware of the comic, and those people came to your stores to get that comic. I would argue most of them went to Amazon because the store doesn't advertise comic book stores. Because they want the real thing. Transformer comics will never be the real thing. G.I. Joe comics will never be the real thing. Star Wars comics will never be the real thing. Those comics are for fans that love the real thing so much they want more. But here's the important thing to understand. They don't want more comics. They just want more of the things they love. Now, once again, my problem with this is kind of twofold. One, how is that any different than Walking Dead? They love the TV show, so they want more. They want the Walking Dead comic. It's an addition to the TV show. For most people, for almost every person that watches The Walking Dead, they have never read the comic. Comic sells okay, but compared to the millions and millions and millions of people that watch the show, it's not a drop in the bucket. So for most people, The Walking Dead TV show is the real thing. The comic is this weird side thing that, oh, hey, cool, maybe I'll read this too. Also, Transformers, G.I. Joe, and Star Wars comics, saying that these are not, quote-unquote, the real thing, is such a gross misunderstanding of the success of comic books in the 80s and what drove to basically the way the industry is today. Transformers, G.I. Joe, and Star Wars are responsible for, I would argue, the vast, vast, vast majority of comic book readers in the 80s to get into comics, especially if you're a kid. Towards the end of the article, he says, I don't want people coming into Targets or Walmarts to buy comics with the toy. We want them to come to the comic stores. And while that's a good... I understand where he's coming from with that. I would love kids that read comic books that get them from Walmart and Target, because in 20 years when they have money and cash and jobs and want to relive their childhood, they'll come back to comic stores because Walmart doesn't carry any of that stuff. So, Transformers, G.I. Joe, and Star Wars are so responsible for the success of comics in over a 2-decade period and led to so many fans that are still in the industry now. So, pointing out those 3 books and then basically at the same point slamming IDW and Dark Horse is, to me, just absolutely mind-boggling. This entire article, and I asked people to read it just to get their own opinion on it, but is hypocritical, is complete nonsense, completely misses the point, angers people. You're picking a fight that, 1, you're not going to win, and 2, you can't win, and 3, it's not a fight that anyone else is having. I have no idea why he did this. I have no idea why. I mean, I'm glad I wasn't there, because I would have started yelling at him in the middle of the thing. Like, this is the most ridiculous thing I ever have heard anyone talk about in forever. Image is good. Image publishes some good comics. The truth is, 90% of the books sell like shit, because 90% of everything is shit. Most of their books suck. Just like Marvel, just like DC, just like Dark Horse, just like every other company. Most of their books are not successful comics. They could be successful in their own right, but there's only one Walking Dead. There's only one Saga. It's 2 books out of a company that publishes, 30 or 40 books.
What was that book that was...
Hundreds. Sorry, Image has published hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comics from no-name creators and no-name writers, no-name artists that never amount to anything. They'll never go anywhere.
What was that book that was written by Alyssa Milano?
Activist,
yeah,
from Boom.
And again, I told you had maybe like 1 or 2 sold, or maybe 0, because I got
1 for the person that pre-ordered it.
Yeah, and I was at Comic Outpost. It used to be called something else. Now it's Comics Experience North or something like that, because Brian ended up having to buy it, obviously.
Yeah.
Anyways, I was blown away. It was jumping off shelves, and simply because it touched on the market, I found out that actually Alyssa was even out here talking with some of the other people promoting it, like in San Francisco and Berkeley. Surprise, surprise. It's back to home base. When it comes down to it, proximity is everything. And the people can control the market. You can only capture so much. You can't. Not everybody that's selling something is trying to capture a demographic like in Alabama or in Sunnyvale. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's different. But I wouldn't say Image is shit. Image is fucking incredible because it reflects the creators that have made all the money for DC and Marvel in the last 7 years.
Image is not shit. The companies are all fine to some degree, but the same percent of books that are good at Image are, for the most part, the same percent of books that are good at other companies. I mean, one, it's all subjective, and two, success, copies sold. Walking Dead and Saga are good. That's 2 books. Nothing else sells well at Image. Nothing sells
for your
on
store.
the level.
For your store, maybe you sell like 20 Deadly Class number 2.
Yeah.
But I go to shops, like I tell Bryce, and I think you know this, I go to shop, all the different shops in the Bay Area, like I hit up at least 5 a week.
Yeah.
And I watch what moves, I told you about why I do this stuff. And I would say Deadly Class number 2 sold probably like 60 at the same shitty shop that Brian just bought because it was fucking cheap because they were, in debt. They were bankrupt.
Yeah, but that's...
Because, again, it was a market for Image buyers. People go there to buy Image books.
Sure, but I'm not talking my store. I'm talking nationwide. I'm talking big numbers on the diamond charts because those are total overall sales. Individual markets are going to shift dramatically. The fact of the matter is Walking Dead is 2 successful books, Walking Dead and Saga. That's it. All their other books are not successful in the level of the books he's rallying against. Saying like, "Oh, stop reading Batman, read Saga." That's a nice thing to say, but the comic industry gains way more from all these movies. Now, there may not be direct sales to comics today, but all the marketing, all the merchandise, all the stuff does have eyes that open to comics. We may not see a direct effect the week that the movie's out or whatever, but there is a general understanding that comic books and these things are here. To me, the problem is comics aren't in enough places. That's another problem. You have digital markets, that's different. You can add that on there, but it's a tough, that doesn't necessarily affect comic stores specifically.
I agree with you. When we took
if Image wanted to do something that would help comic book stores do this, overprint one comic once, because every single Image comic sells out the day it comes out or before it ships. Not having every issue of Black Science on my shelf right now hurts Image and me. But they reprint. No, take some balls and fucking go ahead and overprint some of that shit. You can't put it on the retailers who are not ordering enough copies because you put out 20 new comics every couple months. Most of them are shit. Most of them don't sell. Some are more guaranteed. Rick Remender has written a whole bunch of comics that don't sell post him working at Marvel. It's not,
Dude, Black Science is fucking
hit,
selling.
But look at every other book he's put out from Image. None of them. Fear Agent bombed.
No. Fear Agent was before he blew up.
Yeah, that was. I know, but he's done all sorts of stuff.
We say they bombed. He's worked
for IDW. He's worked for these other companies. Most of his books have not been successful.
No, but before Venom and before Uncanny X-Force and before
recently
Secret Avengers.
Recently he's been done better. But he still has had books that have come out in the last few years that have not been successful.
I just got to say again, going back to that whole reference of music and comics, any medium, any creative medium. Fear Agent was one of those books that everyone was looking for in the remastered version that was already sold out. That was one of the first things that went to sale at retail at Image Expo.
Yeah, but you're talking to a couple hundred people that want it. You're not talking... The problem, Omar, I think you're looking to this little bubble of 5 miles outside Image headquarters in San Francisco. They may care, but the world at large doesn't care. And so I'm not... Like I said...
I'm speaking from local experience that I got to see myself and not just numbers that's extrapolated that you're looking at.
But that's all that matters.
So
not really.
Local numbers don't matter because I'm talking nationwide. I'm talking the success of Walking Dead and Saga, and they have been very successful. Don't get me wrong. They are top-selling books. The problem is the shit that comes out from Marvel and DC are more successful than every other book from Image.
But right now, Walking Dead is more relevant to the mainstream than Batman or Superman. Than the mainstream.
But
yes.
It sells well. But again, you were talking one title over a couple year period.
I'm not even talking about comics anymore. I'm talking about brand.
But it's not. No. Walking Dead? No. More than Batman? No. DC makes so much money on Batman, it's not even funny.
Everything comes in phases. Walking Dead is big now, but Lost was big before. Breaking Bad was... The thing is... Like everything else, Walking Dead is big now. Whether or not it will still be on the collective consciousness's radar in 10 years is debatable. I mean, don't get me wrong. Notes. I'm sure it will still be a good-selling comic book, but whether or not it will still be on the air, and if it's not on the air, then things will kind of settle back to normal. But that's what you see with everything. I mean, we were talking about 300 earlier and how big 300 was when that movie was coming out and everything. And then movie came, movie went, and things sort of settled back to normal. The difference is this is a TV show, so the interest level stays higher longer. But again, you look at Sin City, you look at a lot of these different things, and it's all that kind of cycle where Image is being very intelligent. They're milking the success of the TV show for every dime they can milk it for right now. They're trying to spin that success into what's going to be the next Walking Dead, what's going to help them be relevant longer. And that's exactly what they should be doing.
Well, my numbers on the Walking Dead comics have totally stagnated. My numbers on the trade paperbacks have fallen pretty significantly because the Walking Dead show does not in any way, shape, or form promote comic book stores. It promotes them looking up Walking Dead on Amazon and buying it there. That's the only thing it does. So whatever he's talking about, Walking Dead bringing people to comic stores, maybe year one it did. But now it's done. Like, I don't sell... My point, it sells, but it's not anything.
Point basically is just that going back to the same thing Omar was bringing up about Image, like, yes, for quite a while, slave labor was pretty big within the Bay Area because it was a local guy who had books coming out through slave labor and everything, and that was...
We sold more copies of Johnny the Homicidal Maniac than any book from Marvel or DC probably to date.
Yeah.
But it's done.
Yeah, it's
no one cares.
Done. It was local, and I've never looked it up to see what the numbers were outside of this area. So whenever you're looking at a very compressed space where you kind of have that local support, you're always going to see inflated numbers.
Well, I mean, I think it boils down to the fact that something I don't think you brought up was how do we get people into stores? Like, I mean, how do you go about doing it? I mean, he brought up like signings and all this stuff and getting people interested in that. But
that gets people in that already are in.
I understand. But what as a comic retailer would you say do to bring people to stores?
I'll tell you a little later after we're done talking about everything. Because
no stripper poles in the
I always have to save hero clicks for last.
Oh Jesus!
ROC, you're going to be here. You clicked in.
I guess my thing when it comes to bringing people into comic stores, the problem I feel isn't necessarily bringing them in the short term. It's keeping them in after they've come in because...
Well, what happens is they come in when they're kids and then when they're adults they find the store again. I see it all the time.
But even then, like the interest you get when like the Dark Tower series launched, like that book...
All came and went.
Exactly.
They were there for one thing.
Exactly. And that's the thing that gets me is... There's tons of stuff that brings people in under the short term to pick up the Dark Tower comic for a little bit or pick up the new Buffy comic for a little bit. But nobody's really figured out a very good scientific way to convert those people coming into the shop to keep coming into the shop. Again,
he has a bit of a point here in the conversation that they are quote-unquote not the real thing and they are not going to be converted over. And in a fashion, he is not wrong. However, there is some retention from just the number of people that end up in the store. 1% may stick around, and that's really all you need. A couple people here and there will come in. You know, the most people, their introduction to comics does not come from a comic book. It comes from either some sort of outside influence, like a movie or TV show, or it comes from
it's the box of comics from your uncle. It's picking up a random book at as your like you said. If they were in more places, like I remember buying Spawn off of a spinner rack in like a pharmacy store. Where was that place? That place was where I went as a kid. Well, where are kids? Yeah. Comics have been marketed to adults for so long that we've kind of forgotten that it's a medium where the entry point for most of us is when we're children. You know, like My Little Pony, you bring up My Little Pony, you bring up Transformers, you bring G.I. Joe, you bring up all of these franchises that are huge for kids.
I was a late bloomer, though. I didn't start reading My Little Pony until I was 30.
Oh, God. But that's the thing is I think they've lost sight of aiming it, getting the entry point for kids. I mean, kids' books are $2.99 starting price.
It's fine. So is everything else. Image publishes no kids books, though.
Yeah,
so.
but that's the thing. But it's one of those things where we all get in as kids. Like, we get introduced as kids.
Some people do. A lot of people do. A lot of people do, but not everyone.
Yeah, majority of us get introduced somehow in some fashion, be it a spinner rack from some pharmacy store.
Spinner racks don't exist anymore. I mean, going forward,
one right there.
That's different.
That's nostalgia. I appreciate that you still have that up there.
That was made like 10 years ago. That's new retro. Enough about Image Comics.
Yeah, thank God.
Let's move on.
You realize you gave this guy like 40 minutes of free advertising.
I have more to say, but we only have an hour-long podcast.
How about this right here?
That's where I'm getting to.
Yeah, thank you.
Omar, your Comic Conspiracy Book Club pick of the month for February 2014.
Look at this beautiful J.G. Jones cover, by the way.
Is the Paul Dini and Gilliam March, mostly Gilliam March, series.
And mostly Paul Dini.
Yeah. He did them all, didn't he?
Nope.
No. There was like one fill-in issue with Scott Lobdell.
Yeah. Gotham City Sirens.
Yes.
You chose the Union trade paperback, or the first 7 issues.
Yes.
You only had the singles or got them digitally.
And you could, if you were lucky enough to get the 5, 6, and 7, they can become a poster.
Yeah,
on the wall.
nice little poster of the 3 of them.
If you would defile them by cutting them up or something.
Well, no, put them in a frame.
Why don't you give us a little series rundown, and then we'll go around. Everyone kind of give their minute speech, and then we'll end with you, Omar.
Thank you,
and let us know what you
thanks
think.
Thanks for letting me come up first to bat.
Yeah,
I like leading off.
Yeah, give us the pitch.
Gotham City Sirens. For those of you who don't know, it's the Trinity of Gotham harlots. We got Catwoman, we got Harley Quinn, and we got Poison Ivy. I mean, what more do I need to say about that? Oh, creators, yes. Paul Dini, Gilliam March. Gilliam March we'll talk about later. For the most part, this is like, for those of you that have loved Batman animated series, it's like that. You open the pages, you flip them, and you have that same kind of characterization that's so pure that you know about Batman that you've loved for the last like 20 years, and that you replay and watch despite it being shitty and not being very clear. It's not. They're not digital remastered versions, music versions, or what are they called? It's not the updated format, right, Brock?
It's not DRM free.
Yeah, it's not DRM free. And they're all just hanging out in a house, and they all got money to spend, but they still got shit to deal with. They got life, which is like Enigma and a bunch of other people. I'm not going to get into the stories, but this is what it's all about. It's all about Paul Dini, one of the best writers in the business, one of the most creative guys. Despite he's one of the dudes that can come out in any medium and make his mark.
We can thank him for Arkham City.
Yes, thank you so much. Gil March, incredible Spanish kid, does mostly the erotic shit, and he got his chance to swing it at DC, and he's been killing it for like the last, since this came out. This was what, 2009.
He's gone from DC now, though, right?
He still does. Doesn't he do a few covers?
Yeah, I think he does a few covers.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think he's gone. I haven't seen him on anything recently.
Oh, okay. 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014. Okay, so 5 years later.
You know what happened? Grant Morrison called him and said, "You want to make $1 million at Image?"
It's very possible. I still follow his blog and look at all his shit, and it's incredible. And I think that's a good enough start. So you guys go ahead and talk about it.
Toby, you actually be in this podcast?
I really liked it. It was a lot of fun.
You got these when these were coming out, right?
Yeah,
we all.
No,
were.
yeah. I'm actually glad I did. I just hope I finished the run, because towards the end, I'm not so sure what happened. Not sure where the books are either. But I know I got the beginning of it, and I liked it. Then I reread it at Charlie's. I liked it a lot again. Some of the classic Dini stuff is in there. The stuff with the psychic, Joker's former psychic versus Harley was...
Oh, my God. That was genius.
That was a great
I'm so glad
story.
You brought that up.
It was a great story. That was one of my highlights in the book. I liked the friendship between the girls. It was great. But yeah, that psychic story it's straight out of like an animated series. I mean, it could have been an episode out of one of those, the Batman adventures. It's phenomenal. It's great stuff. In fact, I think it's cool because then the girls are building their own little rogue gallery, so it's kind of cool that way. I'm going to give it 8 out of 10 Omars, so I really enjoyed it.
Bryce?
I also really liked it. I had the pleasure of seeing some of Gilmarch's other work that he's done for other mediums, and so that sort of whet my appetite for what I was about to read, and proceeded to read it.
He's talking about the girl's pink book.
Yeah.
I love that it was pink too.
Yeah, loved it. So it was great. I mean, he did the art, as far as I understand, in 6 of the 7 issues. And yeah, I really liked it. Really liked the cartooniness of it that matched Dini's writing for all but issue number 3. I think that he did a great job drawing sexy women, but being able to match the sexiness of I guess the men and the women with sort of the madness of the men and the women, like the craziness that he exhibits with Nigma when Nigma goes crazy after he realizes he's been mind controlled was like, oh my god, this guy looks crazy.
Sounds like you're talking about HeroClix.
And HeroClix is always amazing. Or the sexiness of like when Poison Ivy goes and gets Zatanna in the hot tub, like that was pretty sexy, and that was sort of
sounds like a beer commercial.
I have to assume that's when they sort of let his leash run out a little bit, but it paid off. I loved it. I think that number 7 was sort of like a okay issue, and number 3 was not either of them, and that was sort of a take a break issue that that Marvel's found, I think, more success with in terms of doing. We'll give if you're Immonen or if you're Asad Ribic, we'll give you every other month off. Because we know that it takes a long time to do such quality work. Because, man, Gilmarch art, so beautiful. I also loved the fact that it was not a New 52 story, so that I was able to remember who these characters were and how it was with the characters that I grew up with. And yeah, that's a great point. How they're building a rogues gallery. I didn't think of it like that, but that is what they were doing. So yeah, no, I really, really enjoyed it. If anybody didn't have a chance to read it yet, I highly recommend it. Catwoman stole, I think, $30 million from somebody and was handing it out to everybody, so everybody had money to spend, which is a great way to say, here's sort of carte blanche on creating any new plots you want. It's because, we have infinite money, and here's a semi-plausible way.
She stole it from Hush.
Oh, that's right. And then Hush shows up in the story, and they do some cartoony violence with, there's not enough time to describe. I mean, the Harley Quinn character development was awesome. The Gagsworthy character development was out of nowhere and probably the best part of the run. It was a great read. If you guys didn't have a chance to read it, I would give it 8.5 Omars.
Sweet.
Charlie, put down a comic book and be on the podcast for once.
Okay, so Gotham City Sirens. Yes, I am a big fan of Paul Dini's writing. It does help that when I read this originally, it was coming right out of its detective run, because that ended essentially with the Heart of Hush story, which explains where Catwoman got the money. And of course, it's far too fitting when they start the story and Harley's just blown the money on various things and answering emails she should not have answered. And of course, Ivy's a little more eco-friendly with her money and stuff. But that just sort of shows you that for particular rogues, it's not about the money. It's not about material wealth or anything like that. And it really kind of comes forth in these kind of stories that this group is about something else. And the way they kind of take that tongue-in-cheek that Dini sort of, I would say, copyrighted from back in Batman the Animated Series, especially with the Harley Joker, I hate you, it's over, but the minute you wink at me, it's right back on. And all
Great
that.
example.
And I also love the fact that by introducing the past Joker sidekick, they kind of explain that transition between the more sort of goofy, gaggy Joker to the serial killer Joker that we have nowadays. And I always like it when comics sort of acknowledge what's come before, as well as sort of where they've gone and how things have changed. So I guess all in all, what I'm saying is this is one of those reads where if you can get your hands on everything that came before with Detective and everything, you'll pick up on some stuff you will like all the more. But it's a amazingly solid read, especially if you had any love for Batman the Animated Series in the first place. And when we were talking about whether or not you can really convert people, like when you're trying to get somebody to come back for more comics, it's all about knocking their socks off. And anybody who ever loved Batman the Animated Series, this is a great example of something that should knock their socks off and make them want to get more and bring them back. So yeah, I'm right there with everybody, basically. 8 Omars out of 10. I thought it was a fabulous series.
Cool. I don't want to disagree with anyone, so I won't. Because pretty much everything everyone said is the same.
Did you read it?
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, I read it back when it happened. I read it now. Gotham City Sirens was one of my absolute favorite books, and when it was coming out, I was so happy. Like normal, as much as I love the Batman books, and I do, and then just around the time the Morrison Batman stuff was still going on, the Sidekick books, the Bat Universe books, always just end up being some of my absolute favorites that came out at that time. And Gotham City Sirens is no exception. The issue with the what the hell's his name? His sidekick guy. I had it.
Gagsworthy.
Gagsworthy. Yeah.
Gagsworthy.
Okay, that was such a great issue.
Yeah.
And I like Toby and you guys said. I mean, it felt like right out of the animated series. Gil March is a genius artist. I love his style, and it works for characters like that. Like, it's such a no-brainer. He was doing a bunch of issues of Talon, and I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. I like his art. But Talon is not a book for Gil and March to be drawing. A bunch of dudes running around in big, bulky costumes.
That'd be better for like Annie Hubert, just action-oriented.
Inside an office building. It's like, why is Gil and March drawing this? Yeah. Like, that is not his style.
Yeah, just gave him a project.
Yeah, like, it did not seem like a book he should be working on. So, again, I should also state that not official, but it appears these books may be coming back into print very soon if my information that from DC is correct. So hopefully we'll finally be seeing those trades back available probably sometime this year, which they absolutely should be.
I wonder if they'll be thicker and bigger.
That sounds like it's a possibility. We're going to like 2 big, thick Gotham City Siren trades.
Yeah, that's been the current pattern when like this stuff that's out of print comes back into print nowadays. They like combine at least 2 trades into one and just up the price tag a little bit.
So if you like the animated series, if you like any of the Batman stuff, if you just like great art. Yep. Definitely 9 Omars out of 10. This is as good of a series as...
Whoa!
Oh, and that book was coming out. It was one of my
rating.
favorites. No, I love this book. Absolutely. It is fantastic. Brock?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everybody. Gil March did a fantastic job. Paul Dini, his work is amazing. I read this as it came out, and it was one of the top books for me every month when it would come out. I would wait. I couldn't wait to read Gotham City Sirens. And I mean, it's like you said, Omar, you have 3, top-notch bat villainesses, or however you want to label them. And it's not that they're insane or that they're completely and utterly out there. They care about things. It's like Catwoman likes stuff, but she's known to give back to people and give to, humane shelters and stuff. Poison Ivy, she's hates human beings with this passion, wants to crush them with every plant, but she's also about giving, about making sure that we're green, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And Harley's just fun. I mean, Harley represents just, fun, having it. And, when she turns around and says, "That's not Mr. J," you're like, okay, we got to believe her.
That was awesome.
Right? Because it's
Loved
just like, you're like, she's, because she knows, she knows who Mr. J is. And when she says, "That's not Mr. J," it's not Mr. J. So, but yeah, no, I thought it was great. I mean, the fill-in Riddler issue was, a little out of left field for the story, but they worked it in okay.
Yeah, but I liked it.
But it was good.
Good, strong story.
Yeah, they continued it into the next story of, I think, issue 8 or something.
They did a good job kind of getting you into that story, playing with that story and going. So it wasn't as, too jarring. And then the Christmas stories where they kind of went on their own and did the holidays. It was just a fun issue to have. It was like, you watch all of these episodes of Batman, Adventures of Batman or whatever, and you have all he fought Toyman, he fought this person, but then you get that holiday one, right? You get that nice holiday episode around the, holidays and stuff. So it had a good feeling. I mean, I have to go with 9 out of 10 Omars, just because I really love this series, and I'm glad they're finally bringing it back into print. Because, I mean, it should be something that we have on the shelves on a constant basis.
Say this up, Omar.
Yeah, my good friends and colleagues around the table, I couldn't have said it best. There's nothing that was missed, Everything was right on point. You know, we talked about Paul Dini, we talked about Gilliam March. The one standout piece, and you know, it's only maybe something we've seen in the last, I think in 2009, is colorists being on covers written down from creatives. Has it been earlier?
It's kind of back and forth. It may have been earlier than 09, but it's fairly recent.
What makes this book and title so important to me is the introduction of Tomomore, which for me, like, I feel like colorists, like, there are some incredible colorists out there. But this guy, he's just, what he does, and he partners, you can tell the people that work with him once, they try to keep him forever. Like right now, Tony Daniel just is saying, no, you are mine. Like everything he does, Tomomore does it. I think it was issue number 5 where he started here. And that's when I really felt like, man, this medium is where you can't really see this in any other way but on pages. Like, we see beautiful things on TV and digital, on our screens, but the different color aspects and touching it and feeling it, it's just something that we still have in comics. And it's just a damn shame that there are not enough people that pick up the books and read them. One other aspect, too, to this that makes Gotham City Sirens so important is, you know, there was no Batman at the time. We had Dick Bats at the time. So Dick Bats, as great as he was, you know, he's still not Bruce. Bruce was Omega beaming throughout history, and you know, that was a cool read too. But it was like Gotham without Batman, somewhat, because and really you only got that through this book because Catwoman knew that wasn't Batman. You know, she knew, just like how you know, you pointed out, Brock, that Harley knew that wasn't the Joker. You know, Catwoman knew. I love the connection with Talia, and they kind of did some foreshadowing for other episodes. That was awesome because those are the two main women in Batman's lives. I think when you talk about Batman, it's not how cool he is when you read about a book just about Batman and watching him do his things. It's about other people that are incredible and great. Like whenever you see Superman and Wonder Woman talk and they're having this conversation, like, oh yeah, Bruce would do this, and he's not on the page, he's off panel. That's fucking cool. That's what I think what makes Batman so incredible is what other people say about him when he's not around. 9 out of 10, easily.
Fantastic. Good pick, Omar. Good pick.
Thank you.
Now, Bryce, this podcast has been going for an hour and 20 minutes or so.
Paid by Image, I hope.
Now we have
I don't know where you're going with this.
We have a limit as to how much space we can have. Okay. So,
and I have one more thing to say.
Oh God, are you going to say it?
No, you can go with your book pick first.
Now
Mine's
you are going to announce your book pick.
Yeah.
Now, last time, I want to say it cleared about 45 minutes for you to actually get to the name of the book. So why don't you start with the name of the book this time, and then give us a little tease.
I will make this compromise with you, Mr. Higgins. This time, I actually have notes, so I will not go as long as I did last time.
Just so everyone knows, those notes, that's what we were passing around earlier.
The notes should be for the episode.
No, they're bullet points. They're bullet points, so I'm going to go through it much more quickly than last time.
Okay.
So start now.
How much time do I have? Just kidding.
Just go.
Okay, so this book, ladies and gentlemen, let me give you some hints. It first of all, the biggest hint is it will surprise nobody. So that's probably the biggest hint.
Mutants.
So second of all, it's a story of love, tragedy, betrayal, and battles of epic proportions.
Oh my god.
Okay.
This narrows it down to maybe 100 X-Men books. Okay.
There are intergalactic battles. Okay.
15 X-Men books.
It has one of the greatest single issues of comics ever in it.
X-Men had a.
Okay, I know where you picked, but
it has a story
I'll guarantee you I know
of one of Jean Grey's deaths.
Yeah,
so that narrows it down to 3.
Okay, sure. No,
Anyway, so I chose the Dark Phoenix Saga, and look, here's the thing.
No, that's a really good pick.
Okay, so I understand that okay, of course Bryce picked another X-Men story. So because I was hemming and hawing between a non-X-Men pick, and I was like, you know what, so for a reason I will get to after the Dark Phoenix Saga, there's a reason I picked this one and not a non-X-Men book. Look, so the Dark Phoenix Saga, I'm not sure if everybody who listens to this podcast realize, but the Dark Phoenix Saga introduced such characters that we are nowadays familiar with, such as characters like Kitty Pryde, Emma Frost, Dazzler, Sebastian Shaw, and the Hellfire Club in general. These were not characters that existed before the Dark Phoenix Saga. The Dark Phoenix Saga alone is responsible for all of those characters being introduced in this one story arc, which is hard to find any story arc that introduces such current day significant characters in one single story arc so many years ago. The tale of love, tragedy, and betrayal in battles of epic proportions, I think that sort of goes without saying. Obviously, love with Cyclops and Jean Grey, and tragedy with her death, and betrayal.
Spoiler!
I don't know. There's something going on with the Hellfire Club with betrayal, and battles of epic proportions is the intergalactic battles. One of the greatest single issues ever. I'm referring, of course, to the people that have read it, of the one where Wolverine goes against the entire Hellfire Club. That's sort of an iconic
X-Men number 136.
137, thank you.
Oh,
wait, no. That was like 132. 137 is the finale.
Oh,
but that was a good guess. Look, I also wanted to say that my last choice was sort of the modern day golden era, if you will, or in my opinion, of X-Men where they were. But I hearken back in that episode to the actual golden era, which is when Claremont was writing and John Byrne was drawing, and Terry Austin, who doesn't get enough credit as inker.
Incredible inker.
Yes,
Incredible.
thank you very much.
Very clean.
Was this silver or bronze? Is it silver or bronze during that time?
80s? Yeah, 80s or bronze.
I mean, yeah, Bronze Age, quote unquote.
Okay.
So now, like modern.
Anyway, so Terry Austin doesn't get enough credit, but he did an incredible job. And if you actually look at the inking, you're like, wow, this looks incredibly clean. It's because of Terry Austin, not because of John Byrne. Even though John Byrne is incredible, Terry Austin is such an unsung hero that everybody talks about Claremont Byrne. Nobody says Terry Austin. So. Okay.
Some people do.
Let me tell my story.
Some people.
During that time, I think no one talked about it.
No.
Okay, anyway. Intergalactic battles, the
Here's the tracer.
137...
Tracer.
137, X-Men 137 with the Shi'ar Guard. I mean, the Shi'ar Guard today is cool because of that single issue in X-Men 137. I mean, they've done a lot of cool stuff since then, but that single issue, that single arc, like made the Shi'ar actually relevant, even though there were Justice League. What?
Why don't we let people read it, and then we can all come back in a few weeks and talk about these great points.
Okay, look. I will say that I'll save the rest of this for after you've all read it.
You gotta wait 1 month.
I'm just so excited. Look, I just want to. Okay, last thing I'll say about Dark Phoenix Saga before I get onto this other thing is, look, Dark Phoenix Saga. I'm sure that everybody has read it, or most people have read it. The reason I chose it is because it is such a great story, and I personally read it like 15 or 20 years ago was the last time I actually read it. So I'm going to sit down and I'm going to reread it, and it's going to be re-enjoyed.
I'm going to reread it with you.
Thanks, man.
And you know what, too? What I think is so fucking cool about everything that you're saying is that
you guys going to hold hands?
Your ROC 2014 team, super qualifier, only one in the Bay, where half of the people that are coming, it's about 16 is half, are outside of fucking the city, outside of the town. They're like, there's like 7 people coming from SoCal.
Yeah.
Okay,
there's like one person from Chicago.
Hold on.
And you're playing a Shi'ar team. Holy shit.
And by the way, it's an incredible team. Anyway, so look, it is in print. There's a paperback.
Yep.
It is X-Men 129 to 137 is the Dark Phoenix Saga. Now, before I actually wrap it up, Brock, you're being incredibly annoying.
Brock, turn that off.
Is I want to add an optional bonus reading.
Okay.
So,
I'll allow it.
Dark Phoenix Saga is 129 to 137. If I'm doing my math correctly, 5 issues later wraps up a little movie that's coming out this summer called Days of Future Past. For anybody that wants to do a little extra who's-em-a-what's-its, Days of Future Past takes place during X-Men 141 and 142. It's very short and sweet, very small, relatively speaking, story.
There is a Days of Future Past trade, which I believe follows directly from
it does
140 or 138, right?
Yes, which is why I chose this. So, if you're interested in doing a little extra homework, Days of Future Past sort of it didn't come out of it was sort of almost like a breath of fresh air, very different than the intergalactic setting of the Dark Phoenix Saga. Sort of let's change gears here and give people a breath. Days of Future Past I don't want to say too much about because the movie's coming out and because now it's book club homework optional. Just that it is so iconic that they've made a bunch of very subpar X-Men movies, but they're choosing to since X-Men #1, I think, there hasn't been one that sort of was revolving around a specific story until this summer. So this summer we have X-Men Days of Future Past coming out, which follows 5 issues after the Dark Phoenix saga. So if you're really bold and want to read X-Men issues 129 to 142, that's going to be 14 issues.
There's no way we're going to get the younger anymore, bro. It's 8:30.
Now, besides that, Omar, this weekend you have at Comics Conspiracy on Friday.
Comics Conspiracy, where it all started.
Even though we're all sold out, people can still come down.
We're sold out.
Watch from outside.
You can hang out, and you can hang out with some of the best players. Hero Clicks,
2014,
2014 Realms Open Champion, Realms Open Championship, Super Qualifier.
All right.
The winner of this motherfucker.
Now, this is a Hero Clicks tournament. Okay.
The winner of this motherfucker gets a lot of shit. You saw some of the prize support.
Oh, the prize support is incredible.
I just got it in the mail today.
He said a lot of shit. He doesn't mean in a derisive way. He means in an incredible way.
I mean, not bad meaning, not good meaning bad, but bad meaning good. There it is.
And the #1 gets an invite, or actually a bunch of the top players get an invite to Gen Con. Correct?
Not to Gen Con. Gen Con is...
you were doing the finale
Gen Con. No, it's going to be Dragon Con.
Oh, Dragon Con.
Dragon Con, where the guy that got busted for messing with little girls.
Yeah.
Kind of like True Detective. See, it's all circles. It never ends.
That's his problem. You got to mess with...
all circles.
Big girls.
Yes. So, I would say, if you're into gaming, you're into tabletop gaming, actually, we've even been pimped by Geek and Sundry. Sundry. I don't know. Am I saying that wrong?
Geek and Sundry.
Geek and Sundry. So for some of those, for some of those tabletop nerds out there, people are they're jumped on that shit too. It's big. It's a big deal. It's sponsored by WizKids. It's sponsored by HC Realms. It's sponsored by TCGplayer.com. It's sponsored by Comics Conspiracy.
Yes.
So if you want to check it out, there's going to be half the players are out of the city. 2 of the guys are top 2 players from the last tournament from the ROC, and they received access to top 15 status here, minus some of the players that have been here, because we keep regular rankings and whatnot on a weekly basis. So it's a big deal. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and you can come out and you can have a brewski with me. Hey,
and me
if you're 21. Oh, Bryce is here too. Oh, and Brock is here too.
Oh my God!
Yep. And I'll be here for part of it.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna be here the whole night, but I'll be here. I mean, at least for a while. So.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good time.
Okay, apart from Omar's propaganda, it's gonna be the best thing ever, and you should totally come down because it's gonna be incredible.
We might have to kick you out though, because I think we're gonna be at capacity.
Sure, but we'll still drink beer with you.
What is someone
if you're over 21?
Someone's making grinding weird high pitched noises. Brock.
Yes.
And before we wrap up, you have something you want to say.
Yes, I would like to say there's a Kickstarter you should check out. But
is it by Fables?
No, it's Shadow of Oz, a tarot deck from Illogical Associates.
Do you want to sell it at all?
Excuse me?
A tarot deck.
Tarot. Okay, thank you.
From Illogical Associates. Anna over at Elusive Comics is the one that started it. So it has, as of this recording, 13 days to go. And they almost have all their money. But check it out. It's on Kickstarter. It's called The Shadow of Oz. So...
if you like tarot decks.
Yeah, and it's done by some decent creators in the field. So.
Local artists. Check it out.
Some local artists and some big name artists.
So. Okay.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for this episode, as crazy as it was. Hopefully you all survived this episode. If you want to hear this episode again for some reason, or any of our other podcasts, go to geekbox.net or comicsconspiracy.biz. Go to forums.geekbox.net, and we talk to all our people. The Comic Conspiracy at geekbox.net is our email address. You can send us there or use the contact form on the front page of geekbox.net. Digital.comicsconspiracy.biz. Go buy some digital comics from us. We get a nice cut every time you buy out of there. Don't give your money to Apple. Don't give your money to Microsoft. Give it to us instead, because we're cool.
Mail order.
Yeah, we do mail order too. Brock wanted me to remind people of that. If you want to order some comics, if you got a subscription, all that stuff, you can set up with us. We'll get your books out. Tip-top service. Brock's a great packer.
I love packing them boxes.
He packs a lot of comics, so he does a good job with that. So
with those milk ads.
Yeah. Ryan Higgins, Ryan. Brock Sager is Brock Sager. Comics Into Kine on Twitter. These are all Twitter addresses, by the way. That's Omar. Toby's Toby XI. Bryce Larsen is Larsen Bryce on Twitter. Charlie is Insanity and Chaos. Brock's got conspiratorBrock.com. Omar is comicsanddekind.com. That's his blog, as well. He talks about his HeroClix stuff there. Charlie's got the Infinite Longbox podcast. And he's got the Wanders in 4D.
Wanderers in the fourth dimension.
The Doctor Who podcast of the Who's of the Doctor stuff.
Some four-dimensional wandering.
Wanderers in 4D. In the fourth dimension. Those are your pimps for this week. Thank you, everyone. It sounds like Omar and Bryce want to go get more beers. So go get more beers. Go get more beers. We're out of here.